Everybody, what's going on? I'm Rob Cesternino, back with another one of our Friday Facebook Live updates of the Big Brother live feeds. And this morning, we are joined by an esteemed panel from the LFC, the live feed correspondents. Alex Kidwell and Taran Armstrong are here. Our own sitting ducks. Good morning.
Hey. How's it going, Rob?
How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm good as always.
Let's just say I'm not holding anyone's hand and jumping off anything.
Yeah, long night for the live feed crew with a lot of stuff going on. We had, of course, our big HOH competition, which was factored in with a jury rebuy. We're going to talk about the winner of that competition, which we did not know at the time that we signed off last night on our live feed show, or our live show with Ian Terry last night, which was very, very fun with Brett Walgamont as well. So if you missed that episode and you don't want to hear about live feeds, then definitely check that out. But otherwise, we are going to move forward and talk about everything from last night here in a spoiler-filled edition of our Friday morning update. So we are also streaming here on our Facebook channel on Rob Has a Podcast on Facebook. So if you want to send us your questions, you can do so as well. We'll take them later on in this update. But I guess why don't we start first by updating the HOH, which we did not know. Alex, the HOH at this hour came down to Nicole and James at the time we logged off last night.
Indeed it did. And James fell off. Well, kind of a deal was struck. James was looking shaky, but ultimately, tried to secure safety for him and Natalie, and you got the promise, and off he went.
All right, so a deal is made. The couples are working together, so it seems like it's just going to be another week of trouble for the sitting ducks. That for Paul looks like probably a likely trip back on the block, Taran.
Well, actually,
what? Oh!
Yeah. Last week, especially down to the wire, there was a lot of flip-flopping going on with James and Natalie, and it really didn't sit well with Nicole. She was really getting annoyed at how much James was questioning her, how much Natalie was questioning her. At one point, James said in front of Corey, that Natalie wanted Corey to leave. So they pretty much lost all trust with James and Natalie, and they've gained a lot of trust with Paul, who's been putting in a lot of work with them.
Holy crap!
Yeah. As soon as Nicole wins, one of the first things out of her mouth is, I want to keep Paul safe this week.
To who? That's publicly said, or that's said to Corey?
Privately to Corey.
Yep.
Which is what counts.
All right.
And
this is exciting.
And yes, what she wants is Michelle gone.
All right. Well, that's not super exciting in terms of what she wants to do. But all right. So let's talk this through a little bit in terms of the Nicole decision-making process. Alex, how much is Corey a factor in these things? Does he have an opinion in this, or is he just like along for the ride on everything?
I think Corey's opinion
in more ways than one. Yeah.
He has an opinion on things. He tends to be very low key and express his thoughts mostly to Nicole, but he's more strategic, I think, than people have given him credit for this season. He does have a general idea of how this game works, and that's been enough this season. You couple what he brings to the table, which isn't much, with what Nicole brings to the table, which is a lot of perceptive ability and the notion to, get people before they get her. And it's actually not a bad combination. Paul did a good job of endearing himself to them. And yeah, I think Corey is the kind of guy that's always more inclined to work with guys anyway. Paul and Victor, I think, are more enticing allies to him at this point than James, who's tied to Natalie, who he doesn't trust.
So, Taran, what kind of deal was struck between Natalie and James?
You mean Nicole and James?
I'm sorry, Nicole and James. Sorry, I've been doing that constantly.
Yeah. It's very difficult. Basically, Nicole just promised them safety, or promised James and Nicole safety. James and Natalie safety.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Contagious.
She said that she would not target them. And at one point she offered, you can control my HOH, but James didn't take that deal. He stayed on longer because he wanted those 4 wall wins. The deal that he got was just, we'll keep you safe.
Okay. And Alex, does Nicole just feel like, well, I can break this deal because James broke the deal he made to Shelley in Big Brother 17, so it's sort of like karma?
Nicole I was shocked, but yeah, someone is actually citing precedent as reasons to nominate people in the Big Brother 18 house. Color me surprised. But yeah, exactly. She mentioned the Clay and Shelley situation. If she wanted to, I mean, technically, I tweeted about this earlier today, but James has won Power 4 times in 2 seasons, and he's broken his word every time. To Jace, to Shelley and Clay, to Frank, to Victor. I mean, when he was in Power last week by process of Natalie. So James is not someone who you have to keep your word to. He bounces checks all the time. His credit history is terrible. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the repo man is coming for him soon.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe he can get his hands on $5,000 one way or the other to sort of help repair his credit score. But Taran, so does James have any sort of inkling that this is where Nicole and Corey's head is at?
Not quite yet. He's a little worried because, Natalie in particular is very worried, and she's getting him kind of worried. Natalie was really hard on James. Like, you should not have dropped that. Like, this could end up screwing us over. Like, you should have stayed up there. But James is saying, like, no, we can trust them. They're not going to betray us. But he is definitely, we are starting to see signs of him starting to worry, like, oh man, did I make a mistake here? Could we be in trouble because of this?
So how will this actually work in terms of nominations and the target, Alex? So who is likely to go up on the block when Nicole makes her nominations later today?
Me seems like a sure thing. Who goes up beside her, I think, still needs to play out. And I think a big factor is going to be the care package here. They're all so unsure about what the care package is. They feel confident that based on the way the care packages have been going, that this one's going to be so powerful that, I mean, maybe Nicole won't even get to nominate anyone at all. So everyone's really kind of biding their time until they find out that this, what we know to be kind of a goose egg is laid. And, once that point comes, I think things are going to change. In fact, it really did affect strategy last night, where you saw Paul and Victor putting in a lot of legwork with Nicole and Corey. And, they're allowed to just talk freely with those guys for hours and hours. And I'm wondering, like, why don't the other three, intervene? And, while Michelle was spending the time kind of feeling bad for herself and crying, you had James and Natalie just talking, the two of them, and James saying, like, I don't think there's really any point in starting a campaign until after we find out what the care package is, which I think you at least need to put in some legwork ahead of time so that you have less to do today. But his plan is to wait until after we see what this thing is.
Taran, how do you think that it's going to affect Nicole's decision-making when they find out that the care package is almost worthless? Do you think that Nicole might do something that is a little bit more of a bold move? Where is she being sort of deferential to Paul because she feels like that he could be in the mix for this care package?
I don't think it'll change much. I think that, she talked a lot about, and I think she's thinking correctly here, that she wants to take Michelle out because Michelle is the one person that's just actively gunning for her, as well as she can like somewhat keep her word to James and Natalie by saying, I'm not sending you out. And keeping James in the house as a target for Paul and Victor next week so that the two other couples target each other rather than them sitting in the middle. So that's kind of like her goal right now. Meanwhile, Paul and Victor are pushing her to put up James and Natalie because they want to target the couple now, because then theoretically maybe they could pull in Michelle, so on and so forth. So it really is in Nicole's best interest to take out Michelle here, and I think she knows that, and I don't think anything is going to change that unless Michelle wins the veto.
So one of the things that we saw on the show on Thursday night was this idea of, okay, we need to have everybody in the house for Paul and Victor think that they're not working together. So that Paul needs to hang out with Nicole and Corey, and then we have to have Victor be pissed, and he's going back to James and Meech and Natalie saying like, oh man, I can't believe my friend Paul is really screwing me over. So now here's Victor back into the house. Alex, how much is this charade continuing to go on in the house, and are the house guests buying it?
Natalie still buys it. Natalie still thinks Victor is very loyal to them. And I think this is an important Big Brother lesson for anyone who plays in the future. If you can find one person who you are completely loyal to, this is a Big Brother move that must be executed by two people, but is remarkably effective. And it just goes to show staging a fight is easier than people think. All the time we hear people say like, no, we can't stage a fight. People never believe it. But here you go. Two guys that we had written off as idiots at the beginning of the season are able to successfully hoodwink former returning players. So I think that speaks volumes. And yeah, James wants to believe it and Natalie believes it. So that alone is enough reason for him to want to trust Victor. Meanwhile, yeah, you've got Nicole and Corey seeing Michelle as an obvious, blatant third for James and Natalie. It's only natural for them to want a third of their own. And Paul is presenting that option. So why not take it? It's a gift in your lap. So yeah, Paul and Victor are doing everything right now.
But Taran, from the live feeds that I was watching last night, it did seem like Paul and Victor were pretty chummy. I think that this really would seem like a hard sell to think that they are not still friends with each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say that they're doing everything right. Like they're Paul is presenting himself to Nicole as like, don't worry, me and Victor have your back. Like we're totally good with everything. And Victor is coming to them and confirming that, like, as far as Nicole and Corey are concerned, they are not separated. And I do think that this will eventually get out and Natalie will eventually learn like, oh, Victor was kind of either, fooling me or he's gone back to Paul. So I really want them to keep this ruse going, but I think that they've already kind of blown it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think I think it's blown. I just think it served its purpose. I think Michelle totally last night was very sketched out by how close those two guys were. It's not something I think they can maintain for long, but I think it's amazing they were able to pull it off to a point where they got people to, well, I guess it didn't really serve its purpose, but they'd almost...
Well, they should keep it going though. Like this is what made the Renegades so successful, is that they were able to keep this distance between them for a very long time, and it's what allowed them to just wreck their way to the final two. And they Paul and Victor were successful in creating this rift, and people really did believe it. All they needed to do was continue along with it, and I think that they could have kept it going, and this would be the thing that this is their key to the finals essentially. But it seems like they're like, oh, we don't need this anymore, so we're just going to let it die away, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, like Jerry thought Memphis might at some point help him take out Dan. You would love for them to be able to find themselves in a position where Michelle thinks she can use Victor to take out Paul, but I don't think that's going to come up down the road now.
So just looking ahead to what the votes potentially are going to be. So that let's just, for the sake of this conversation, who's the other person on the block with Big Meech?
Right now, Nicole is talking about James as that person.
All right, so if James is up on the block with Meech, then the votes will be Natalie. She'll vote to evict Michelle. Then Paul will vote to evict Michelle. So Corey will do what Nicole wants, vote to evict Michelle. So it looks like that definitely the votes are going to be there. But if Meech is going to be the target, then is it such a hot idea to put somebody like James up on the block, Alex, where he can potentially win HOH, or Natalie could win HOH next week?
Well, the thing is, it's like you have to, if you're going to put up Meech and Victor, now you're giving James and Natalie 2 votes. And, while Nicole can break a tie, if somehow, that gives them a lot of power in the situation this week. Whereas if you were to split them, if you're aligning yourself with Paul and Victor now, as they seem to be, then if you're going to empower one of those 2 duos, you'd rather empower Paul and Victor, who you're not, going to be, you're not going to feel betrayed by in any stretch this week.
So, Taran, you said that you like the move for Nicole to target Meech this week, but to leave James and Natalie in the house after really kind of crossing them, isn't that a worse idea than potentially taking out James, preferably, or Natalie, and then leaving Meech with almost nobody else to work with? Would you really be more scared of the combination of Meech and Natalie coming at you coming into next week?
Well, I'd be scared of the fact that Meech and Natalie are 2 loose ends that could be picked up by Paul and Victor, especially since you just made this power move and you look like the power couple in the house. What I think is the right move here is that they need to try and play the middle as much as possible. Nicole needs to sell this to James and Natalie as not a betrayal, but hey, like it was made obvious that Michelle wanted me out all week last week. I just want Michelle out. I'm going to keep my word to you. I'm going to keep you safe. Maybe she even puts up Victor next to Michelle instead. She controls the votes either way because she rules in favor of whichever way she wants to go in the result of a tie. So whoever she puts up there, she can send Michelle home. And so she just needs to figure out which pair is going to be more likely to be not upset by the fact that I'm using one of them as a pawn.
Yeah. I agree. I think she has to put Victor up as a nominee. If her target really is Michelle and she thinks that she can snow over James and Natalie for another week or two here, I think that you really sort of, they're going to be woke, Taran, if you end up putting one of them up on the block as a pawn. Whereas she controls Corey's vote. I would think it'd be pretty safe to assume Paul is not going to vote to evict Victor. She breaks the tie. So I think that that's probably the better move. If that's what she wants, is to put up Big Meech and Victor as the nominees.
I agree, especially because she can sell it to Victor as, look, I gave my word to James and Natalie that I wouldn't put them on the block. I want Michelle gone, but I can't use them as pawns, so I have to use you as a pawn. But obviously, with Corey's vote and with Paul's vote, you will be safe. And as long as she follows through with that, that might actually work for her.
Although at that point where she's breaking the tie against the wishes of James and Natalie, I guess that ultimately is the same exact outcome, except that she didn't put them up on the block and they don't have a week to conspire against her. That's probably just slightly better than what she's doing.
And again, I think they can sell it to James and Natalie as like, look, Michelle is coming after me. Paul and Victor are not coming after me. I have to do what's best for my own game.
Okay.
I guess the only risk there is like if James or Natalie isn't up there and one of them wins veto, maybe they feel like they have the ability to pull Michelle off, but then she can always threaten to put up the other.
Yeah.
Like if Natalie were to pull Michelle off, she can threaten to send James home. So
yeah. Okay, so let's start to get into some of the questions from you guys. Danny Caps wants to know, is the care package changing who she nominates? Is there any possibility where the care package could change the way she's thinking at all? Could you envision a scenario?
I couldn't if they did the care package in a certain way, and this has kind of been discussed a little bit on Twitter. We've talked about it in our own thread, where it's like if they kept it a secret, if they gave the care package and said this is a secret care package, nobody is going to find out what it is, which kind of makes sense if it's a bribe, because if it's an open bribe, it really it's extra dumb.
Yeah, it'd be really bad.
But if they kept it secret, then all of the house guests would assume that this is like an Uber power.
You get to take a car wherever you want?
Yes.
Even a lift power.
And that could theoretically change things, even though I think Nicole would still want to do whatever she wants to do. But that would be the only thing that would throw any sort of wrench into it. I think if it's a straightforward bribe, there's absolutely nothing that's going to change.
Yeah, totally. If this is like, if they open that box and it's a card with like 3 golden question marks on it, like that has a lot of value as a Tony Vlachos bag of tricks item, where you can just say it's something all powerful or imply all kinds of things with it, which, gives it extra value. I really hope that's the case here.
Okay.
This is an idol that I can use to final 3.
It's safety all the way till eviction day on finale night.
Okay, this is a question from Nicole K in the chat. Rob, do you think that now that Nicole is the HOH, that Michelle had the most wasted co-HOH by not putting Nicole up when she stated herself that Nicole was the person that she wanted to put up for sure? I guess, let me ask this a different way. Who had the more wasted half of the HOH, Michelle or Natalie?
Probably Natalie. I mean, no, because like Natalie shouldn't have even had it in the first place.
It's all redundant, but
or like they both really botched it. Where like they went after people and made it really obvious that they were waffling back and forth. But I guess I'd say Michelle, because at least Natalie did get her target out, and it wasn't like her fault that he came back in. Michelle just like making it obvious. Like I really, really want to get Nicole out, guys, but I guess I won't.
Mm-hmm.
Like. Obviously, Nicole finds out about that, and now she's a target.
Jen
both
Manning,
of them are very sloppy executioners this week. It's not a clean cut on either front.
Alex, Jen Manning wants to know, has Victor declared this another competition win yet?
I don't know if I've heard him count up the comps since he's been back, but rest assured, he probably will consider
this should be half
some kind of victory,
half a competition win,
half a win. Yeah. I believe he would do that.
This is a perfect example of why the battlebacks shouldn't count as full comps either. Like just because you can beat just the jurors doesn't mean that you would actually win the full competition.
Yeah. All right. And then let's take one from Amanda who says, what do you think about the goodbye messages that Victor saw about Paul being the target? Should they have shown those? Well, I don't think that there was any way that they could have known that to not show those to Victor to have the foresight. But Taran, do you see any way that those come back into play inside the house?
No, I mean, he already knew Paul was the target. Like that was really obvious by the time he left, and it was even like they told him straight up, "Paul is our target. We're going to put you up as a pawn." So it really didn't reveal any new information.
Yeah,
right. That's the thing about this house, especially with James, is like he really has this idea that he wants to like tell everyone the truth before they go home, which. You know, it was like Lex had that idea in Survivor 3, and it didn't work either. Like, just because, like, letting people know you're screwing them right before you do it doesn't make them like you more. It really doesn't. I don't know why you think that works. It doesn't.
Lex is the perfect example too, because he ended up on the other side of that and wasn't happy.
Yeah. What about any information that came in from the jurors last night? Was there a lot of talk in terms of what people were saying as they returned back to the house, Alex?
Oh man, I didn't catch too much. I feel like Taran, do you remember anything in particular?
There really wasn't much there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Everyone's
they're told,
blown everyone up already. Like, what do they have?
Wow.
They're told pretty explicitly, I imagine, to stay quiet. And as soon as they come off, they leave. Like there weren't any Jessies from Big Brother 15 this time around. The one thing that we did get was Devon, before she dropped, told Victor to go after James, to take James out of the house.
Why? Why James of all people? We always thought that Devon and James had a pretty solid relationship.
It's difficult to know for sure. It may just be the thing where like maybe she's rooting for Victor and she sees James as the biggest threat in the house.
We did see Devon tell Victor right before she left. That was the person that she said, "Hey, they're targeting you in the double eviction." Now she's saying, "Hey, go after James." So Devon does really seem to be a Victor fan.
Yeah, and I honestly think it speaks highly of James's chances in the final two. If they're telling people to get him out, it probably means they respect his game, and if he makes it there, they'll probably be like, "Man, nothing we could do could get him out."
Yeah, I can't imagine Devon is going to really, be so upset with a person that got kicked out of the game twice. Like she's going to say, like, I am a purist of this game. Like nobody, over my dead body could I vote for somebody who's been kicked out twice. She's probably like, more power to him. All right, so good stuff. One last thing before we sign off today. Based on all of the information over the last 24 hours, Alex, if you had to call it right now, who's the winner of Big Brother 18?
Got to go with the best player on the board, I guess. Paul
Paul
is
the
putting
winner.
in the work,
Oh,
and he's showing the most skills. I got to go with Paul.
Friendship. Okay. Taran, who is the winner of Big Brother 18?
I think this is the pivotal week. So it's hard to know, but I would probably say I think Nicole is up there, but I'd probably go with Paul as well.
Those are the two, I think, for sure, the front runners right now.
Yeah. Nicole or Paul. All right. And we'll see. I feel like that when push comes to shove, I don't know if Paul can get it done. I'm starting to feel like that Nicole does have the momentum, and maybe, if she could just somehow get away from this Corey anchor, I think that we could. I feel like it would be a satisfying story.
Yeah,
if she cut Corey, people would love it.
Yeah. Okay.
She talked about it with him, like, hey, what would you do if I cut you at the end?
She's dropped that before, which is
doesn't care.
More than you could hope for, really.
Yeah. What does he care? All right. Good stuff. So very excited to be back on Sunday night with Glenn. That's going to be a very fun show. Look for that on Sunday night with Taran and I. I also posted last night our millennial preview of the new Survivor season. Myself and Nicole went through everything the other night and talked about all of that. So be on the lookout for that. Plenty of stuff up on robhasawebsite.com, both for RHAP and the reality TV RHAP ups as well. So looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say in the comments. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.